Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Neil, D Rose, Arwin, who's trying to join right in the middle of my introduction, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Aussie.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good to have you all. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Today they're saying there is no such thing as gravity. It's something else.
What
Oops,
is
I
something
dropped the
else?
helium balloon.
What's something else?
Well,
Gotta know what
they've
gravity is
given up.
first.
They've given up on the standard definition of gravity. Mass attracts mass, so it's something else. It's part of Einstein's 4D space. It's a concept.
Okay, well, they gave up on mass attracting mass because it doesn't.
Yeah, that's my point. But why they said that was that for centuries. So for centuries there was no proof for it, but they kept saying it.
Well, any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
That's a flat out impossibility. Sextant is a angle measuring device, and an angle is two lines meeting at a common point called the vertex.
Any evidence of a physical
You
geometric
can do
sphere
F-roll
edge?
with an angle.
You need plenty with an angle.
I built the kitchen with an angle.
Good morning, guys.
Morning, chocolate.
Hey, chocolate.
In the pre-show, we were discussing, as always, all roads lead to a flat Earth. And in the case of the, let's call it the anti-flat Earth blag, that dip correction is actually a measurement to a tangent point horizon debunked in 2020. In which case, the inference that you've got a tangent point horizon in and of itself requires the differential calculation between the flat plane you are standing on your eye level. The difference between the two is what you can infer gives you a geometric tangent point on a presupposed sphere below surface level to claim you are correcting from when you do dip correction. However, the dip correction is to correct to flat. No correction is needed if you're using a bubble sextant. And if you're on the ground, your height above the surface is what you're correcting for. To make it flat, so you've got 90 degrees below the star that you're using to calculate where your position is by measuring its angle against the flat surface. Now, if there's any deviation in terms of your elevation above the flat surface, then you have to correct for that. As I say, not needed if you've got a bubble. But the correction is not from some sphere tangent, and it is to the flat plane, because you're going to need 90 below the star. So even if they infer a tangent point below surface level, it won't give you 90 to the star, which is all you are actually correcting for, because the world is being navigated flat. Earth is flat, and all corrections or inferences of sphere bullshit, let's be honest, will lead you to a flat Earth, because their claim in the first place with the tangent, as John was pointing out just before we started the live show, is a correction from eye level to surface level to give you the inference of your tangent point. All roads, even the blag that your celestial navigation has got a tangent point correction and dip, it hasn't. But the road to get to that dip for a sphere came from a flat Earth also. I hope that was a good summary.
Yep, very good.
We have Kali. He's back.
Oh, can you unmute him? It was my bad. I stuck the guy on mute. I'll apologise to him now. No, someone else is doing it while I'm doing it. Carly, my bad.
Do I get the honor to have a conversation with Nathan Oakley about horizontal baselines?
You do
Is
have
this
to.
happening right now?
I do. I get to apologise to you. So when I joined the Discord server, I had no control. I couldn't be heard by you guys. So I'm there shouting you down, telling you to shut up, and you're just not listening to me. Not your fault, but I muted you as a result of that because it was audio chaos, and it was my fault. So
And I apologize for taking it as, you guys not hearing my argument and just wanting to mute me. Clearly that wasn't the case. Okay. My apologies.
And now, on the contrary, we discussed it for about 10 minutes after you left, so I'm really pleased that you came back. Very pleased, in fact.
Yep, the ground is not your horizontal, right? The point from where you're standing to the horizon line, that is not your horizontal in celestial navigation.
Correct. So the guy who was saying it before you left, we corrected him in that regard. And even though we corrected him, it was reaffirmed by Righteous, who was then saying, well, aren't you using the sextant to establish horizontal? Now, it may be the case that someone goes out and says, look, Nathan says you establish horizontal with the sextant. Okay, if that's the case, I'm wrong. I'll just concede it now in advance. But no, you're not. You're right, Carly.
Holy shit. Listen to him then. You guys don't even got to hear me talk then. He'll tell you.
Well, what's your position? Are you a baller or a flat earther? You're trying to weasel in a geometric tangent point or what?
Ball, baby.
You're on the ball? Okay. Well, how does this help you? Because you need flat earth to make that assertion.
I have to find my headphones, sorry.
Okay, let me know when you can hear me, and I'll ask you how that helps you, because you need a flat earth for it. Something else we discussed in the pre-show. It was John's point. Again, he's on fire today.
Well, maybe he didn't actually think of the arguments. He's just like, no, I'm on a ball. You're right, though, with the flat earth arguments, but...
Yeah, don't straw man me. Come on. I'm here to talk to Nathan. I don't want to get straw man during it by other people. That's weird.
But check it out. You've been
I'm
told,
just
Alan.
guessing.
Save me doing it. He wants to talk to me. My bad. Okay. So...
I want to know your honest assessment of a dip angle. And, if a level line of sight puts the horizon on the same horizontal as the level line of sight. I just want to know, I want to hear you say.
But you're conceding that Earth must be flat to have those two things.
Earth must be flat.
Yeah, level line of sight.
A level line of sight, yes.
Yes. You don't have that.
I established a level.
You don't have that. You need a flat Earth for that.
I need a flat Earth to make a level line of sight.
Yep.
You also need no.
I can't have a level line of sight on a ball.
No.
Let's say I'm standing on a gigantic ball, 1,000 meters across, 1,000 meters tall, and I'm standing on top of it. Can I have a level line of sight on it?
So here you have Atmo, don't you?
Yeah, there's going to be atmospheric condition causing refractions and changes to the position, but I have a level line of sight, right?
So changes to the position of things that have got a straight line of sight. Well, if they've got a change, then a deviation from straight isn't straight anymore, is it? So no, it's just a third time's charm. Where do you get a level line of sight on a ball? You don't.
Perpendicular to vertical.
Where'd you have that when you're looking at things through atmosphere? I'll say it a fourth time. You, on a ball, don't have that. You'll need a flat Earth for that.
I disagree.
Okay, where'd you get it? Level line of sight.
I disagree.
Where'd you get
Horizontal means no changes in elevation. So if I have a level line of sight, that means my angle is level. My eye is level, right? I establish a level where I am, and I look straight to the horizon, and it's below my level line of sight. So I make a dip correction.
Did you not hear me the first 4 times? Sorry, where did you get the level line of sight on a ball, given that you have always in effect, no exceptions, 7/6R as standard, refraction through Ben Atmo layers of sphere-shaped air, always without exception? Given that that is the case, explain how you, 5th time, get a level line of sight. You can't, I'll say it again. Excuse me. You can't, 5th time's a charm. You don't have the ability to do that on a ball. It is not possible for you, sir.
Use a plumb bob.
And that will give you a line of sight, will it? A plumb bob gives you line of sight? Are we talking about line of sight or plumb bobs?
The plumb bob will give you a vertical, and then
That's
a horizontal is
fascinating.
90 from that.
That's
And
fascinating.
that'll give you a level line of sight. That'll help you with a level line of
Meanwhile,
sight.
your argument was about us looking at a horizon, was it not? Us looking at it through a sextant. Correct?
No. We're not talking about through a sextant.
Yeah.
Or just
Unless you're
looking at
using
the
a double
horizon.
sextant, which can establish
Okay.
level.
So we're looking at the horizon then.
Which is not at 90.
Yeah. And I've asked you that principle, when you're looking at things, isn't acquirable for you on a sphere. 6th time.
Why not?
Because your line of sight is bent always in atmosphere. That's the 2nd time I've told you.
My line of sight is bent.
Shocking, isn't it?
What is a line of sight?
Why are you asking me? This is your claim. I'm asking you about your claim that's about to fail
Because you're
you,
assuming
to
a
make
vector
your...
between
Excuse
point
me,
A and point
my
B
bad,
that's linear.
my bad. Middle of a sentence. My bad. Triggered. Losing. I'll ask again. Your claim was in respect to the horizon, asking us about what it'll do. When we don't have a claim, who cares? How sextants work, that's different, but you're not talking about that anymore. So there's only one claim left on the table, and that's that it's Earth curve. We don't have a requirement for it as a flat earther. I don't have any need for this. So all we're left with is your claim and your questions in respect to the horizon. Well, then we're talking about line of sight, your words, not mine, and your line of sight on a ball is not straight ever. So I've asked 6, now 7 times where you get a straight line looking at anything ever on a ball. I'll say for a 7th time also, you don't. You just yet to concede that. You've gone high-pitched and asked me why it would always be bent, when we were the ones being told by your side of this argument how it's always bent. What is it no Atmo day when looking at the Black Swan? So we're very clear, because we've been told for nearly 3 years that it's always bent for you. That's you telling us that. You understand that you've told us. I haven't finished. It's been 7 attempts. That's my bloody Lego brick alarm. Again. Give me a minute.
All right.
Can I insert something, Nathan, quickly? Because he mentioned the plumb bob to get
Shut up,
your
Lego
supposed
brick.
level, but how does that work on a rocking boat?
What's his claim? I need to
It
know how he
doesn't.
gets
It
level.
never does.
To answer his claim with his paradigm on his ball, he needs level to ask us this question, doesn't he? So until he can get past his requirement for line of sight to be straight, he's not going anywhere with this question, because he needs to square that circle before he goes anywhere, Arwin. Now, I've done it 8 times. It's just Carly, who's all impressed to talk to me. Yeah, I need to be impressed with you conceding where you don't have a line of sight that's straight. But you haven't. 8 attempts. How do you think you're getting on? You pleased to talk to me? Your ball's dying, by the way. You haven't got a line of sight.
What would you do to... Okay, you know a level line of sight. What would you do to establish a level line of sight?
Why? Am I using the horizon to claim that the Earth's a sphere with a ball horizon blocking our view of boats and buildings? No, you are. You are asking us questions about the horizon. When you've got a horizon claim, it's an outrage. I don't have one. Meanwhile, within your claim, you've got a line of sight that's straight. That's what you're asking us about. 9 times I've asked you where you get it on your ball and told you don't have one, it's always bent. I just need you to concede it before we get to 10, 20 times?
How do you know the angle of the lens?
Why are you asking me? I haven't made a claim about any lenses. Do you need to flail a little bit more? It's going to be 10 times, really.
When you
10,
look at the
10.
when,
Really?
When you look at the horizon, are you claiming it's on the same horizontal
I haven't
as a
claimed,
level line
I
of
haven't
sight?
claimed anything.
Okay.
So meanwhile,
Well,
you've got a
see what I'm
ball
trying to
Earth.
get to.
So meanwhile, you've got a ball Earth horizon, and you've got a line of sight that's always bent, and you're asking us about a differential from something that requires a flat Earth. And I've had 11 attempts to get you to concede your questions, completely debunking your notions of your sphere Earth with your atmosphere bent always lines of sight. 11 attempts. When are we going to get a concession before we can move on? We need it from you. This is so weaselly and tedious.
You wanted me to answer a question. Can you just restate it so I'll answer it for you right now?
Where do you get a straight line of sight on a ball? Go. 12 times.
Yeah, you establish a vertical with a plumb bob, measure perpendicular to it, and that'll get you a horizontal, and then fix your lens with a crosshair so it's on that level. That's how you get a level line of sight. You use a
How
theodolite,
do you
bubble
do that on the
sextant.
ship?
Arwin, I don't need
Whatever.
any help, thanks. Sorry, do you know what the word sight means?
Yeah.
So when you dangle a plumb bob and establish a mathematical principle with respect to the plumb bob, is that sight?
Not yet.
So when you talk about lines of sight and move on to mathematical principles that aren't anything beyond the descriptive language of maths, that's not something we're looking at as in sight, then. So I'll ask again for the 12th time. Where are you getting a line of sight that's straight on a globe? I'll answer for the 11th time. You don't, do you? On a globe, you don't have that.
So what's the bubble level for in a bubble sextant?
So we're not getting a concession. Do you ever get told
Hey, come
as,
on,
as a
man.
Ball Earth believer that you're potentially very weaselly, like attached to your faith, so dogged in your faith that even after 12 attempts of pointing out something that you guys have barked at us for nearly 3 years, you now, in the face of something you guys on the Ball Earth side have barked at us for 3 years, can't even concede after 13 attempts that you don't have a straight line of sight, ever?
Why not?
Because you've told us for 3 straight years that it's always bent in atmosphere. Sphere-shaped air, 7/6 of our as standard. What is it? No Atmo day, we were told for 3 years, when showing you
But
how the...
correct.
Oh, my bad. Do I need fun demuting?
No, you don't.
Well, then shut up. I'm telling you about how your argument fails. It's only been 14 attempts with a religious zealot, Carly. That would be you, a religious zealot that can't tolerate how wrong it's been for the last 3 straight years of you, the fundamentalist religious Ball Earth side believer, telling us that the lines of sight are always bent. Now you've got an example that requires a flat Earth, and you're asking me questions about a horizon I haven't got a claim about, and when I tell you haven't got the thing you need for your example, 14 attempts later, we're yet to get a concession from you. You haven't got this straight line of sight in your example. Why does it take 14 attempts? It's because you're a bloody fundamentalist religious zealot.
Okay, so what's the bubble level for in a sextant?
Why are we
So
why are
you
we
can
moving on?
still- it's
Why am I
all
getting
on
interrupted
land.
by Arwin for the 3rd time? I mean, it's just like life repeats itself constantly.
What's a dip angle correction?
So we are talking about sextants.
I mean, a dip angle correction is the difference, the angular difference between a level line of sight and the horizon.
Well, you need a
Right.
flat Earth for that. Level line of sight and the 90
Oh.
you're correcting to, both of which are
If
flat
they're-
and level. My bad. What's going on? Does this hurt?
I'm doing my
Does it
best.
hurt when I go through the level Earth that is required for a sextant? Does it require you to chant through me? What's going on? He does these scary words, right? Must stop the scary words by talking through them. Here, correcting.
Projection.
Your question was about dip. Yeah, we're correcting to the level surface so you can have 90 at the star. That's a flat Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
flat Earth required.
Right. So if you want 90, what would you do? You want your line of sight to be on 90 to measure the difference between
What
a
would
level
I
line of
do?
sight
You
and
mean
horizon.
what would be done and is done in celestial navigation as opposed to what I, Nathan Oakley, may potentially do in the future? What is done in celestial navigation requires Earth to be flat so you can get 90 at the star. Now, when you're above the surface level, you need to correct because you're above the level. So you correct with dip to level.
We're above the level.
So it's scary words, right? Scary for a ball believer. Terrifying words. We're just talking about navigation. Why would that require an interruption? Scary words, right? Second time. Not rhetorical. Are these
So now
words
our line of
scary?
sight is above level?
Are these words scary?
A little bit.
Well, you should be. I'm glad you're honest. Yes, they should be scary to a ball believer, who doesn't have any straight lines of sight to anything ever and can't concede it, even though 14 attempts have passed by him, this would be scary because we're correcting to a flat plane so that there is 90 degrees below the star. If you were at the star dangling a plumb bob from that, it would meet the ground at 90. And when you correct for dip, you're correcting so it will meet the ground at 90. That's a flat Earth proof. Earth is flat.
I disagree with how you're explaining that.
Oh, well,
What?
be my guest. Go ahead. Tell us, Master Mariner, how it's done with a ball.
The ground does not have to be horizontal to have a level line of sight. You don't use the horizon to establish perpendicular from vertical. You're not using the horizon line. That's what a dip correction is. You're correcting for the angular difference between a level line of sight and the horizon line. So that's why sextants have bubble levels in them, to help establish that level line of sight. You get a dip angle correction, and then you subtract that from the height of the sextant.
But it doesn't
What-
work on a rocking
Why
boat.
do you?
And
I-
that gives you-
hold on,
and
I
that
wanna
gives you an
insert- I've been trying to
elevation
insert
angle.
this for 15 minutes. Yeah? How are you going to use that bubble on a rocking ocean? When the ocean always rocks, the boat's never going to stand still. You can't use a bubble. Yeah, bubbles in sextants are used for on land
Yes, thank you.
where
That's
nothing
fascinating.
rocks.
Thank you,
Why?
Arwin. Thank you.
Because sometimes the horizon
thank
is
you, Arwin.
obstructed by a hill or buildings. I'm done
Very-
now.
Thank you,
Thank
Arwin.
you.
Thank you for that.
Right.
Thank you
That's
very
correct.
much. Thank you.
That's correct.
I know you didn't answer my question. I asked you how it did function on a ball, and you've told me how it won't do things and what you won't be doing. I'm not interested in how we won't be doing it. I detailed how we will do it, measuring an angle to a star, the corrections being to gather a 90 degree at the base of the star to your position, so you can triangulate. That's a triangle. You, the star, and the ground are a 90 degree triangle. That's what you're creating. Well, that's what an elevation angle is, and any corrections are to get it to that flat baseline. I've just explained and detailed how it is done and does save lives. What you've done is not that. You've told me how things don't work and won't be doing things. Couldn't care less. Tell us how it's done on a ball. Second attempt.
Yeah. Yeah, you establish a level line of sight to get a dip angle, and you can point the one lens of the sextant at the star and the other lens at the horizon, and the reading will give you the height of the sextant. Subtract the dip angle from the height of the sextant, that gives you an elevation angle.
Okay, so that proves a flat Earth. What you've done is detailed how it's done on a flat Earth.
Really? You think
Yes,
so?
really. At no point did you mention...
Come on, man.
At no point did you mention globe Earth, things falling away, curves, sphericity. You didn't mention any of it.
The ground is not your horizontal.
But telling me what it isn't for the second time, that didn't fly the first time. You haven't detailed how it works on a ball. You've detailed aspects of it that I can detail requiring a flat plane. At no point did you interject with ball at... What you have done is interrupt me every single time the painful words come. That you haven't detailed any ball aspects in what you detailed. Then you've said isn't something. No, you're being asked to detail what something is. That would be is working on a ball. And you haven't. Don't tell me what it isn't.
Complaining about how much I'm speaking when I'm literally like 5% of the airtime? Really, dude?
Well, that was a fantastic explanation of celestial navigation on a ball. No, my bad. It was you moaning about the format. With completely open air to explain how celestial navigation does work on a ball, as opposed to what it doesn't do, or what it can't do, or what we won't be doing. So, third attempt, rather than appealing to format, your open air, open mic time to detail how celestial navigation does work on a ball, go ahead. Third attempt.
Yeah, I explained the method that's used in celestial navigation, and that comports with the globe prediction.
That's not telling me how it works. That's telling me that you believe it works with a globe and it comports with it. Comporting with something isn't telling me how it works with it. Do you know what the word work means?
said-
Do you know what work means?
He said elevation angles.
I don't need help. Do you know what the word work means?
Hey, man, I would just be repeating myself, you know?
What, by answering my question about whether or not you understand what the word work means?
Of course, of course I know what work
well,
means.
doing work means it has a functionality. So if it works with the globe, which you say it does, show me how it is functioning with the globe. Is it that difficult? So far, all you've done is told us things that require a flat plane. And then when you've asked us something about how our horizon will work, when you're specifically not detailing celestial navigation and sextants, according to you in that argument, you wouldn't concede after 14 attempts that you don't have a straight line of sight to anything ever. I mean, we'll get to that in a minute, but no worries. We're at the start, no progress from the start line of you telling us how it works with a sphere. 4th attempt. Go ahead.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, Nathan. I just think it's funny. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll disengage because I just don't even know what to say to that.
You mean you don't know how it works?
I explained the method, right? The method has to do with a globe prediction.
Explain how the method goes with the prediction, because you didn't incorporate that into your explanation that required a flat plane and a horizontal baseline.
Flat Earth. Sorry.
Well, you didn't explain how it needed anything other than a flat Earth, and there's a detailed description of an angle of depression on screen right now. Those are triangles with flat baselines. Nothing you've detailed so far works with a sphere. Quite the contrary.
Okay.
But do you want your 4th attempt to tell us how it works with a sphere, as opposed to what it won't do and how it does comport?
That's the only way it works. The only way it works is if it's a sphere. That's why you get 1 degree every 69 nautical miles traveling south latitudes.
1 degree of what?
Yeah, 1 degree of the 1 degree every 69 miles.
What does that mean? Do you want to explain that?
69 nautical miles.
Do you want to talk me through that? Explain what that is and how it proves a ball? Go ahead.
Yeah, if you travel south from the North Pole, you put Polaris at your zenith. As you travel every 69 nautical miles traveling south, the star is displaced 1 degree. It declines towards the horizon.
I see.
Right?
So 1 degree. So that would be 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex with a horizontal baseline measuring an angle to Polaris off a flat baseline and its declination towards the horizon of 1 degree with reference to a horizontal flat Earth for every 60 nautical miles you travel. Ergo, the 1 degree it drops towards the horizontal proves we're on a ball. No, it proves you're measuring the 1 degree of 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex, dropping as you move away from a star along a flat plane, because that is precisely what you've just detailed measuring. At no point did you measure a globe. You measured 2 straight lines. That would be angles, and how much those 2 straight lines, one is the flat Earth baseline, decreases as you move away from Polaris. So what you've just detailed is a flat Earth proof that you can measure the angle off a flat baseline of declination of Polaris as you move away from it on a flat baseline. That's a stone cold flat Earth proof that you have just detailed. You want to explain how you, in your right mind, think that measuring an angle off a flat baseline to a star as it moves towards the horizon as you move away from it is in any way inferring that we're on a curved surface when you wouldn't be getting an angle because it's 2 straight lines? If one of the lines, the base, the ground, was curved, you wouldn't be getting an angle to measure this declination. You need a flat Earth to measure this declination. So, do you want to explain how that was proving a ball when it proved a flat Earth measurement? Go ahead.
Nobody uses the ground as a horizontal in gravity.
You just measured an angle with the flat baseline, you stupid clown. How dare you tell me that nobody does it when your example included it? You just told me that the angle declines as you move away from it. Do you not understand that an angle is two straight lines? You haven't got one curved line moving away from you and one line up to the star. Coincidentally, it's on screen for my audience. It's an angle off a flat Earth that you've just described. Do you mean nobody measures it off a flat? You just measured it off a flat plane. Hello? You just gave me an example with angles. That's two straight lines. Has he run away? What's going on?
I think he left. I
So
think he
the
left,
moment
yeah.
he's proving a flat Earth with an angle measurement off a flat baseline, and how a declination in that angle, both off a flat baseline, proves we're on a flat Earth, after stating explicitly that it'll be proving a sphere because of the 1 degree every 69 miles, or whatever he claimed it as, suddenly that's proving a flat Earth and he runs away? Total fail. Yeah, he's just proved a flat Earth multiple times. Well done. Now, Arwin, go ahead. You've got the mic.
And
Arwin, nobody else.
Presuppositional technique, he would never be able to explore the oceans with that. Only land. That's it.
Hey, look, guys. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Literally just heard that again.
Yeah, but
He was describing the circle of equal altitude around Polaris with 1 degree, 306 degrees on the circle of equal altitude. That's what he's describing. He's describing a flat plane.
Yeah, he's describing a flat plane. The audacity to say nobody does a flat Earth measurement with an angle. Like, you just did. But they'll deny their own bloody measurement the moment it's proving a flat Earth, won't they?
Nobody uses
Yeah, they
the
must.
ground as a horizontal. That was hilarious.
The best bit was his honesty when it came to, yeah, it is a little bit painful. You're like, yeah, damn
Yep.
right it is.
He shared his pain.
And I just point out as well that when he made the claim that when you travel 60 nautical miles, the star will decline by 1 degree. That isn't even true anyway. It's evidently incorrect. Mick West proved it because he showed that all of the stars appear to slow down the further towards the horizon they get. So that means you have to travel more than 60 nautical miles to maintain that ratio on which he claims proves a globe Earth, because it has to be a linear function on a globe. Well, it's not linear if you're getting further and further and further away with greater and greater distances to preserve that 1 degree. That was Sean Hawkins' Polaris challenge, wasn't it?
And
It's down
Anthony,
with
just
the
to keep this little tit for tat going, what would be their apologetics for why that would be the case?
Oh, refraction, Nathan. Refraction, of course.
You mean the always, in effect, never going to give you a straight line of sight ever refraction that the guy couldn't concede 14 times? That refraction?
Yeah, the 7/6 curvy line refraction that he's using to measure an angle with. That one, Nathan?
I didn't hear a screaming child running.
I said the 7/6 R curvy straight line refraction. That refraction, Nathan?
Yeah, the one that'll never give you a straight line of sight to anything ever, under any circumstances, that have barked at us for 3 straight years, until it's proving a flat plane, and then 14 concessions later, oh no, my bad, 14 complete ignorances of the point that they've barked at us for 3 years. Yeah, big problem, eh, now, lads? Is the penny finally starting to drop? That refraction probably wasn't your best line of attack in respect to the Black Swan? That saying refraction actually ends your argument? That you might find yourself with it being repeated back at you 14 times and you can't believe your ears that you haven't got a straight line anymore? Yeah, shocking, isn't it?
I find it amazing that when they need to rely on refraction to bring back boats and buildings, that very same argument, using refraction, they ignore it completely when they need to measure angles. I remember early on in like 2015, how does a sextant work on a flat Earth? And at the time, I didn't really consider it either way, because I just thought, I don't know, do I need to know that? Is it important? Isn't it funny that when it comes to it, measuring angles is really important for a sextant, and those lines have got to be straight, but they just ignore that refraction argument when it suits, and they don't have any problem ignoring that hypocrisy, that double standards, that it drives me nuts.
I think it's only reasonable that the guy who came earlier and couldn't concede that for 14 attempts, it's only reasonable to say that realistically, his non-return will be based on the fact that he got muted all 14 times.
Yeah, that's called
Right.
pleading the victim card when you're getting dicked.
No, there was 14 times where he was stopped from giving a really concise rebuttal about how the always in effect sphere-shaped air to never ever have a straight line to anything will mean he's got a perfect justification asking us about the straight lines and differentials that require a flat earth. You see, the fact that we figured out all roads lead to a flat earth means that no matter which argument they come here with, they're going to find themselves conceding that they'll need a flat earth for it.
Like I said,
That was
he
real. Go on, Anthony.
playing the victim card when he's getting dicked. Because if Nathan wasn't dicking him, he would be able to argue whatever point he wants to make. But because he's losing, he has to then play the victim card to distract away from the fact that he hasn't answered the question, or that he's got something wrong, or he hasn't got any supporting evidence, or he's applying a fallacy. That's what they do. It's distraction tactics all the time.
It was interesting how
he got muted.
It's interesting. He was addressing line of sight. And then I liked that when Nathan held him to the plumb bob, because he was using a plumb bob. And he says, is a plumb bob a line of sight? I mean, they have to go through every nook and cranny to try to change it. He was also saying perpendicular, and he was using a bubble sextant when he wasn't even talking about using the horizon. And then when we brought it back to the Mariner sextant, which uses the horizon, he didn't want to admit that if there was a guy on the seashore, not on the water, but on the seashore, 10, let's say 6 foot tall standing guy, and he had a Mariner sextant, and right next to him was a guy with a bubble sextant on land. After the Mariner sextant and all the corrections for that, and the bubble sextant, which is void of dip, height of eye correction, you don't do that, just the refraction only, it would both have the same outcome. It would be the same. So his whole point is, you don't need a horizon to establish level. I say, yes, thank you for admitting that when you do the horizon and do the proper corrections, you're establishing level with the Mariner sextant, because it must match the same findings of the bubble sextant, which negates dip correction because you already have the horizontal. Yeah, I mean, it's right there.
Quick shout out to Uncle Ben, who sends me $10 and just says thank you. Thank you very much for the super chat. Sorry, lads.
His gotcha moment, his ace wildcard was that, I'm not using level to establish my angle. I'm using horizontal, and I'm gaining that from measuring it from a plumb bob. 90 degrees from plumb gives me a horizontal, and then I'm using it from there. So I'm not using the shape of the Earth. And then he was doing that because when Nathan says, yeah, but we haven't got no Atmo day, that rebuts his claim. So it was to distract away from that argument that he didn't want to address, that he claims the victim card. They always do it.
No, I know. It was brilliant on Nathan's part to keep him on the no Atmo day, because refraction is their worst enemy and they think it's their ally.
Yes, I like the no Atmo day thing, because when I used to read that in the comments, it used to really annoy me, because I used to think, you're telling me this, not realizing that you've undone your own argument by saying it. So then you start to explain to them in the comments, no, by saying you're no Atmo day, you can no longer acquire a tangent. You've got no straight lines to anything. So far over the head of some numpty dipshit that's just saying no Atmo day, or, you know, whatever they're saying to us. What is it, no Atmo day, was the response, right, that they all started parroting. What is it, no Atmo day? Obviously there's atmosphere, look at the cranes, bendy cranes. Yeah, we're talking about the horizon. The argument's about the horizon. It's a geometric claim, and I'm going to get rumpused in the middle of this while they ask me about no Atmo and whether or not we've got it. They're asking me, the flat earther. Do I deny the sphere-shaped air that bends everything always? What are you, stupid, flat earther? Oh, right, okay, so I must accept that there's always sphere-shaped air. Okay, right. 3 years later, when you've got a straight line to something, you haven't. What do you mean I haven't? You told us for 3 years you haven't. You told us. What do you mean I haven't? Well, I'm just establishing straight. You haven't got a straight, ever, on a ball. You told us. 3 years. Are you nuts? Very infuriating, initially, when they said no Atmo day. Now, I say it to them. What is it? No Atmo Day? Are you nuts? Did you forget about your rebuttal to the Black Swan? It is essentially annihilated your globe claim the moment you said it, but it's taken 3 years for you to get that. Now, hopefully, that 14 renditions of the exact same point that he hasn't got a bloody straight line to anything ever will start to sink in with the idiots that face us on the ball side. Go ahead, whoever that was that I cut off with that little repetition of a rant I've already said.
You
Stephen
can't
Davis
measure the
asks,
geometric horizon.
Stephen Davis asks, Nathan, did you catch Jaren's response about his retraction? I'd like to know the answer to that too. Have you? What has Jaren said, and did you catch it?
No, I've got no interest in watching anything. I don't watch Jaren, and I've got no interest in finding out. What I want in terms of a retraction is secondary to him accepting that science proves, so he can move forward in his debating tactics, so he doesn't lose to people like Toon when they hoodwink him with science. Once I have established with Jaren that science does prove, that's why it gets used, that's why they use the words, the concession is a fait accompli. It's immediately inferred, isn't it? No?
Well, then you're gonna like today's video. Then
Hold on, I'm just talking to Anthony. We will get to the video shortly, but me saying I want a concession in my outrage at being called a scammer is secondary. It's second fiddle, right? With throwing the baby out of the bathwater. Look at your namesake currently in this hangout, Anthony. That's devastating to the position that flat earthers can win with. That's it. That's the main priority. The moment he understands that, if his claim is Nathan's a scammer because he says science proves, the moment he accepts that science does prove that's why it's worth hijacking to claim you've got proof when you haven't, then automatically that's a concession, a retraction. It's all those things bundled in one, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you remember when we were talking about FE Core and we were talking about one particular topic, and I said something along the lines of, let's call, I think they were talking about renaming themselves or rebranding themselves, and I said, let's use the word science in our name because anything with the word science in it sounds professional. Oh, how true those words were back then, because like it's literally the use of that word now that we're criticizing certain people for hijacking.
Yeah, the only reason to hijack it is because of proof, right? And throwing the baby out of the bathwater leaves you with a dull blade to fight when people claim science. And we watch Jaren in his debates, and when we've critiqued them, specifically McToon, he's fighting with a dull blade. And it's not good. It's not a good position to be in. Now, it may be that he wants to defend Dave Weiss, because Dave Weiss is out on the circuit using the same magic trick the ballers have used on us to convince us we're on a ball, when he says you can prove that scientifically. It's a great little magic trick that's very, very good at convincing people. So he's picked up that tool off the battlefield and gone, they just claim everything's got science. And people believe them and nod along because they've been trained to believe that that means proof. Now, our standards are higher than that. We want to demonstrate to the general audience that the reason you're being told the scientific proof of whatever's being claimed by whatever charlatan's claiming it is because science does actually prove if you've adhered to the method. Once you know that and know how it proves with the method and what it's proved with the method, you then appreciate this is useful linguistically to trick people into thinking I've proved that the stars are a million miles away, or that there's a molten iron core in the center of a sphere that we're standing on because science says so. Well, that means proof to your average layman because that's what you were trained at school. And you could only be trained it was proof because it is proof when it's actually applied. So I want the win for Flat Earth. I want Jaren to win with the arguments. I want Dave to stop being a charlatan and claiming he's got scientific proof of this and that when he hasn't, because it makes us all look like frauds.
Do you guys miss the days of when we used to get told the body of science proves the globe? The body of science.
The whole body of science. I look
the
back,
whole body of science.
That's the reason why Rumpus for me is like one of my favorite anti-flat earthers. Not that he should have a favorite, but he's the one that I like the most, because I remember one day that when Nathan pointed out that there is no such thing as a whole body of science. It doesn't have opinions. It doesn't do this. It doesn't do that. It's just a method. And Rumpus was about to say something right afterwards that involved the phrase "the whole body of science," and I said, "You were going to say that then, weren't you?" It's no. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, the day it seemed like he well, like when they made that switch, when he used to say body of science all the time, and then one time he did say it. He tried to say, "Oh, science doesn't prove," and I said, "Wait a
Yeah,
minute, Rumpus, you are the guy. The whole body of science proves this and that and everything. Globe like,
Yeah.
how can you say that science doesn't prove?" It was one of the first times I heard Rumpus just fall all over himself. Like, I didn't really, It was
It's the same
insane.
when it's the same when like other bluffs will say 7/6 refraction. It works close enough, bit more refraction to calculate for it or whatever. But then when you point out that you need like a straight line to measure an angle using a sextant, and they flip immediately to say, "Oh well, the line of sight is always straight," and they have no problem like completely ignoring the fact that they've just contradicted themselves. I don't know how they do that without being brainwashed, but they all do that.
He sounded so surprised when Nathan told him, "To you, the line of sight is bent." And he was like, "The line of sight is bent." And I'm sitting here thinking, you know how many times we've been told that in the past 3 years?
Yeah.
And
It's
he's like,
outrageous, isn't it?
Just want to cover a couple of things from the comment section. Specifically, which is sad to see. Okay, Stephen Davies says, Jaron also called Witsit out for saying ether wasn't science. Okay, very disappointing. Majoring on the minors and then having an internal spat over that means that it sounds like Globebusters is imploding, and just stand well back. That's all I can say at this point. I want to wait until that little implosion's over, and whatever remnants is left, I'll go in with whoever's influential and educate them on what science is and how it's being used to convince you are on a ball by saying the word science when there's no proof of what's being claimed, with the remnants in 6 months. But in the meantime, it sounds like it's imploding over on Globebusters. Whatever.
wait.
Fine.
Just
One more thing. RJC says, where's the science for a stationary Earth? Okay. Way to demonstrate that you don't understand what science is without saying you don't understand what science is. Because science deals with cause and effect relationships. So natural science, that's the study of the physical and natural world, is what we are dealing with here on Flat Earth Debate. Now that is exclusively the singular scientific method. That is exclusively illuminating the cause of naturally occurring phenomena. So when you say, what's the science for stationary Earth? Okay, you're so used to being told that you can prove concrete nouns with science that you expect us to adhere to that non-standard. It's not a cause and effect relationship that you're asking about. So when you say flat Earth, that's not something happening. That's not an occurrence. That's not a phenomenon. You're not going to get an IV-DV relationship out of that. So it's absurd to ask us for the science of flat Earth. No, you can ask for the measurements of flat Earth, the geometry of flat Earth, the practical application of flat Earth. You can ask for all those things, and we can provide them. But asking for the science of a concrete noun demonstrates you don't understand what science is. It's elucidating the cause of an effect, and the effect is exclusively natural. Only natural. Shout out to Michael Kahn.
it's also
Implode Busters. Love it. That's not
Science
funny. I don't
awfuls.
want to see Globebusters implode. I want to see them influence the masses with good arguments and win. Not implode. It's sad. When I said it's sad, that's what I mean, Michael. While I'm not currently watching Globebusters, in 6 months' time, to yearn for the days when I was eager on a Sunday night to watch Globebusters, where I want to give Jaron the money that he charges for the closed show behind a paywall, because I really, really want to watch him hammer whoever's on as a guest, as a flat earther. I want to watch Witsit destroy the opponent with his intellect and sharp wit and fast tongue. I want to watch him win. I want a desire to watch Globebusters. I don't want to watch it implode. Now, obviously, negative, back to this crap. I'm being called a scammer. Got to deal with that first. But I'll put that to one side. All will be forgiven, providing that they can move forward with the understanding that science is only being hijacked in terminology because it's been demonstrated useful by way of proving things, because that's all it can do. The methodology in the hypothesis only allows for a positive proof-based outcome. in every single instance. So once you understand that it can only provide proof, you're like, oh, so this science thing, whatever that is, the outcome's always proof. Really? So if I say that there's this other method, forget science, that's called Schlurples, and the method of Schlurples, whatever it is, it don't matter, always, without exception, provides proof. You go, oh, really? And everyone understands that Schlurples always provides proof. And everyone nods, yeah, if you've got Schlurples, you've got proof. Okay, so if I haven't got proof for something, but I say Schlurples, will you nod? If I say I can prove the grass is purple, I've got the Schlurples for it, you'll go, oh, you got the Schlurples? Well, I'll totally agree. Definitely purple grass, because you've got the Schlurples. Well, Schlurples is just science. It's just a word that provides a magic shortcut to people believing you. Why? Because it proves things. Not necessarily mean you've actually followed the method that would give you that proof. You have to understand what the method is and how it proves things in order to combat that garbage.
Go
ahead.
Well, I wish
I'm
it
sorry.
wasn't.
Go ahead, Eli.
I wish it wasn't. I wish it didn't appear deeper to me than it might actually be. I don't know if anybody watches, probably Alexandria, shout out to her. She's well, one of her videos, she talks about cosmology, biblical cosmology. So she, she's a flat earther, but also she talked about evolution in her latest video and how it's science falsely so called. And when you look at all the big players that she calls out in that video, it just brings me back to biblical times when Paul is warning Timothy to be careful and be wary of those that are going to come around and try to falsely assert things, falsely state things as facts when they aren't, regardless of whether they have. I mean, it's insane. Like, to know that people have been doing this for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's like, here we are living in this time where there are people in our time doing the exact same thing, but we just feel like we're removed from the people of the past when we're just when history is repeating itself.
Yeah, it's a shell game.
And from that,
people like Dave Weiss have spotted the shell
standpoint,
game, haven't they? They've spotted that there's a shell game going on, and they've pointed out the shell game and pointed out the shills and danced up and down and shouted about it. And the moment they've tried to clear out everybody from the shell game, or more likely, gather the crowds up and take them over to a different part of town, where they've opened up their own shell game. And you're like, what? What's going on? So the new shell game is you telling everybody how you've got science to prove a flat Earth. Well, number one, there's far better ways of proving Earth is flat, showing that it's flat, using practical applications of it being flat, rather than saying you've got science for it. I mean, that, to me, just strikes me as the same charlatan shortcut. Well, when there's no shortcut needed. But in the meantime, it does actually make us look like frauds. Because it is fraud to say that you've got science if you haven't applied the scientific method. It's the same fraud we're all just coming out the other side of, which is why it's so much more of an outrage. When it's our own side doing it, that is. Shout out to D-Rose. He says, I want is that $1,000 million? Is that $1 billion? To wake up. Or so wake up. No, it's just the zeros. Okay, I'll just start that again. And I want $1 billion and 0 cents. Wake up, Nathan. Okay, D, thanks. I didn't understand that at all. I also want $1 million. Join the club,
oh
I guess.
My God, Nathan, if you'd have read the super chat soon, I was saying, you saying, I don't want them to implode. I want them to disseminate good information, and that was my response.
And I want $1 million.
Because they're not going to do that. They've never done it.
I'm a fairly humble guy, right? So long as my
they'll never
stereo's
disseminate the
working
truth.
and I can monitor the show, right, and my left ear's working and I can hear what you're all saying, I'm generally quite content. While I might occasionally say I want a Lamborghini, yeah, that would be lovely. I don't need a Lamborghini. I'd like a reliable car as opposed to my wife's 25-year-old crap box that's falling apart and warning lights are constantly coming on. That would be nice. So being slightly more comfortable than I am. Do I want millions for telling people that the Earth's flat? No. Do I expect millions from it? No. Right? Far from it. I accept that I'm going to probably face poverty for the rest of my life on YouTube. Okay. Smash the super chat if you don't want to see that happen. Great. People supporting me financially is far more rewarding than just having a big channel that generated YouTube ad revenue. You know, the community support's much more valuable, much more rewarding. Yeah, I scrape by on the actual amount of it, but that doesn't matter, right? So, no, I don't think converting Jaren to understanding how science proves, therefore it would be a useful trick to tell people that you've got proof when you haven't by using those words, won't benefit anybody financially. I doubt anybody will become rich off that. I mean, it might be less detrimental to not be called a scammer by Jaren, who's bigger than I am, let's be honest. But what it will do is show audiences that the arguments that we have, when everybody out there who's a normie will encounter somebody who says, well, the science that proves we're on a globe, they'll hear it daily if they were arguing this daily. Well, that's something that we've all got to combat. We might be knee deep in it after 5, 6, 7, 8 years of it, for me. But, or Jaren in the same instance. He's been doing it at the same time as I have, probably slightly longer. I think he was out doing it about a year before I was. Well, being so thick into it doesn't mean that out on the street for your general normie, that they think that science proves we're on a ball. And we'll still parrot off the sentiment of Rumpus, as detailed by Anthony earlier, that the whole body of science proves we're on a ball. Because everybody's reified it into something that men can just tell you, and therefore it's proven. And then if you think that it could be wrong or find out that it is wrong, you look it up on Wiki and it says, oh no, science doesn't prove anything. And you start scratching your head. And if you've got half a brain and can remember 5th grade science, you remember how they just disseminated how it proved things with the empirical methodology and the hypothesis construction stage with the empirical logic attached. So then they've got the audacity to tell you when they've been proven wrong or caught out, oh, actually, the science we're talking about doesn't prove anything. No, the science you're talking about was inferred to be proving exactly what you said at the time, has been shown to be wrong, and is now being decried when in reality it was never science to begin with. It was never the methodology-based proof that they'd implied. That's why they implied it, because they hadn't got proof.
Didn't Chocolate have something to say about 10 minutes ago?
Probably. I'm on my high
Can we
horse
get
about
back to that?
science.
What? Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, I wanted to clear up in my head what Nathan said, that comment had mentioned, that it was Jaren that is now calling out Witsit on ether not being science. Is that what happened?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's an absolute fact that I got from the comments about 5 minutes ago.
Okay. When even Witsit will say that it's not science, and Jaren has said that his argument was never ether. Huh.
Wait a minute. Wait a
That's what I'm
Nathan, wait a minute. Time out. You said that Jaren wasn't even a proponent for ether. What the heck is going on here?
I don't know. Michael Khan from the super chat says 4 more hours, please.
You see my confusion, right? It's like, wait a minute. Did he specifically say that? When has ether been my argument? I've never argued ether.
Right?
This is,
And then
this
I
is
showed. Then I showed when he did.
Have you got those clips?
Oh man.
I will stay live if you can dig them out. If it's going to take you 20 minutes, then I won't, obviously.
Oh, I got those clips.
Nathan, you just read that from someone in chat. We haven't actually heard the audio clip, correct?
I did say that. I said that's why it's an absolute fact that's been absolutely verified 100% because it came from the chat live. And he was a member. I mean, that automatically makes it 100% valid, does it not? He's a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. How much more credibility do you need? Shout out to
Well, it's just a probabilistic belief.
Probabilistic, you say?
Yes, the probabilistic belief that all you have is probabilistic beliefs.
Yeah, I found them. Hold up. Where do you want them?
You want me to play him? You stick him in Master B if you want me to play him. I'll shout out D-Rose in the meantime. So shout out to D-Rose says, oh my God, my previous super chat is saying, as much as wanting them to disseminate truth and science is fantastical, because that'll never happen. I don't know. I don't know that's the case. My attempt to get people to pressure Dave into coming here to be educated into science because of his double speak being caught out and basically with Whitsitt here as his representative saying, yeah, I wouldn't call that science, end quote. It puts pressure on Dave to learn the arguments when the audience will say, hang on a minute, someone who's come and said that they represent you makes it absolutely explicitly clear on this show that they know what you're saying is science isn't. What's going on? That'll be the general, demeanor of the public, I would expect, unless they're just like, I like being lied to. You know what I mean? I like fraud. Who's saying that? Shout out to JMels24. Michael Kahn appears to be a highly intelligent man, a man of leisure, a gentleman. 4 more hours. We'll see. Right, okay, let's do some clips. So this is, thank you very much for providing these from Quantum Eraser.
So to me, it seems like that's where we're at with this ether idea, is to just dismiss things and make fun of people, I think is a bad position to take, because you don't know. You don't know. So 1/40th of 66,000 miles per hour is about 1,500 miles per hour. So what they were actually picking up is the ether. So for me, the ether is something that I don't think we completely understand. And so as far as it not being science, that might be true. But I think that that's what they measured with Michelson Morley. I think that that's kind of ironed out. And that's the reason that they had to, get relativity going, because they realized the implications of what that test was showing.
There you go.
So, yeah, making Jaron a liar. So it is a little preamble to me personally. I sat in front of him or sat across from him, however you want to describe it, intellect-wise. And he's telling me I don't ever speak about ether. Total lie.
Well, hang on. Did you miss the better part of that? He said part of science that might be true. I thought science doesn't prove anything.
Well, when it's proving ether for Jaron, who never speaks about ether ever, then it's fine to be proving things with science and ether.
Listen, those were two that I just superficially got. I mean, if I went digging, look out.
Wait. In that clip you just played, didn't he say, as far as ether not being science, that's probably true?
Play it again, please.
When we're asking about the comment that was made that he's calling out Whitsitt because Whitsitt is saying that it's not actually science.
So to me, it seems like that's where we're at with this ether idea, is to just dismiss things and make fun of people, I think is a bad position to take, because you don't know. You don't know. So 1/40th of 66,000 miles per hour is about 1,500 miles per hour. So what they were actually picking up is the ether. So for me, the ether is something that I don't think we completely understand. And so as far as it not being science, that might be true. But I think that that's what they measured with Michelson Morley. I think that that's kind of ironed out. And that's the reason that they had to, get relativity going, because they realized the implications of what that test was showing.
And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit me up on PayPal, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, gifted out memberships and all that good stuff. Obviously, another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!